evening, ladies and gentlemen. What is going on? I hope you're all doing very well today. So, bit of a change of plan. I would have normally done a video tonight talking about the vector candle strategy. Instead, I'm going to give you an update on Bitcoin and what you need to be aware of. Is it any surprise, ladies and gentlemen, that Bitcoin has come back into the recovery of the vectors? Let's just go on to the 1 hour time frame. Pretty interesting, eh? Remember what I said to you? Get an arrow, look left, look right. There's some of the recovery right there. We have been anticipating Bitcoin to come away from this range to understand exactly if they were going to move down lower. We had the test of the psychological low up here, ladies and gentlemen. They've ripped it away from the range. Now, let me play something to you that you might actually be familiar with from earlier on today. The principle says that if we're trading at the lows in the New York session, then we would expect the Brinks box to formulate at the lows right here, which is where we are right now. And you see a stop hunt behavior like so, with the initial move to the upside to bring in the reversal for New York. That's what we're waiting for. Here we go. Okay then, guys. So that's what we said we were waiting for. All right? Cool. Let's go to the chart and study what they exactly did. What they exactly did. What a guy. All right then. 15-minute time frame. Just before I left, you saw the stop hunt. Let's just go back a second to put things into perspective. New York session. Brinks box creation. Initial stop hunt. Shift out to the upside, New York reversal, drop to the downside. When you see this sort of structure or anticipate this sort of structure, it would pay for you to make sure that you have vector candles nearby for you to grant that the stop hunt is working a zone. Now, what have we said? We have said that when price hits a previous pool of liquidity or a previous vector candle, that is where we anticipate price to reverse from. Why? Because they have just released a ton load of liquidity. Look left. What do you see? Bitcoin comes all the way up and recovers all of the red vector candle, which is exactly what we really wanted to see in this structure right here for today. We saw the Brinks box play right there. Stop hunt low, stop hunt rise, shift out to the upside, initiate the reversal for New York, come all the way back down. They come back into the previous red vector candle recovery zone. First green vector candle that appears above the moving averages based on the first vector strategy. We would have been able to exploit that. Had you gone into the smaller time frames, you would have been able to see the following. So look at the 5-minute time frame on Bitcoin. Do you see any first green vector candles appearing? Yes, you do. You see this one here? Then you see this one. Now, this wasn't a vector candle before it became a vector candle. Where could you have seen the vector candle appearing first? Right here. First green vector candle on the 1-minute time frame, bang, moves up. You would take a long inside of this zone. Your exit, in principle, would be below the structure, which this is your structure, because it's the last point in the chart that they bounced away from. Take a long from here, rise, retrace, continuation to the upside. Brinks box, 1, stop hunt low, drop, stop hunt rise, drop. Retrace continuation up, initiate the FTD, M formation, rip to the downside, proof of the move, retrace, continuation to the downside. Go back and watch the first vector candle strategy. Go back in the live streams and you'll see exactly that we talk this through all the time. We make reference to the idea, what we wait for in the New York session in relation to the Brinks box. Played out perfectly today. If you manage to make some money on it, happy days. But this is what I'm saying about going back in the charts and trying to find this sort of thing. Now, what do we expect Bitcoin to do now? Well, this is what's got my attention. The dollar index today took a nosedive. What on earth is going on? Dollar dominance is dropping. Euro USD flying. Bitcoin drops. How does that make sense? Gold is moving up. So why on earth has Bitcoin dropped today? You may have heard me say it. They always want to go to the liquidity first. We want Bitcoin to drop before it goes up because we need to recover the imbalances in the chart. This is what we want to see. We want to see them come back into the vector candle ranges. We want to see this behavior. We want to see red vector candles appearing on the way back down so that we can anticipate price to come back up. And Bitcoin forms a structure right here as a support. Because after this point right here, ladies and gentlemen, the only vector candles that we see inside this chart right here, well, there ain't any nearby. And if we go even on the higher time frames, can we see any more vectors? Well, we've got this stopping volume candle right here, which has been recovered. Go to the 6-hour chart. And this is a practice that I do tell the patrons of the channel to do. Go back in the charts. Keep going back. Find the vectors. There you go. There's one more vector at 19462. That's the only vector candle that we can see in the chart, in the visible range, where Bitcoin could come back down towards. Okay? Now listen, if it takes Bitcoin 2 weeks to get there, it takes 2 weeks to get there. If it goes from this point, once they hit the recovery of the green vector candle and moves up and then finds resistance and then starts working its way back down again, well, however long that takes, ladies and gentlemen, is how long it takes. It has to work. You have to work out which vectors you are gunning for. Now, this vector candle was all the way back on the 13th of July. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are right now in August the 4th. So in another week's time or so, we would be 2 weeks away. No, sorry, nearly a month away from this point. We haven't got to worry about it. That's why it's crucially important that when you're trading the hybrid system itself, guys, you want to make sure that even if you are day traders, scalpers, or even if you are holders looking to know when to pick up Bitcoin, all right? Having an understanding of where the vectors reside is going to give you an understanding of if you get in, for example, you can see a green vector candle right here. So one would assume that if you start buying whilst it's coming into this green vector candle, you may anticipate price to keep going lower and lower and lower. So you might actually wait until the vector candle has been recovered so that you can get more information about whether or not this vector is going to lead price to coming back up. Okay? Now, most people who are holders are buying when this is happening because they think already Bitcoin is cheap anyway. And they can see that Bitcoin is going up. So they go on the premise that because it's moving up here from the lows of this range, they anticipate that it's going to continue up because we are at a really cheap point. Then they fully absorb the idea of price coming back down again. And then they say, okay, I'm going to wait for another pump up. Okay, see if I can believe myself that it's going to go higher and higher and start buying again. You want to do the reverse as a holder. You want to wait for it to drop. And I'm talking dropping. You need to be buying it as it's dropping. You don't want to be buying it as it's rising. Because if you buy it as it's rising, you are the sell liquidity. Do you understand? You are the liquidity that Mr. Market Maker is selling to. Now, when we're talking about market maker, we're talking about the futures markets, okay? And the contracts for difference. We're not talking about the physical coin itself. If you only buy the coin and you just want to accumulate Bitcoin, then you don't need to be watching this. Because you're only in interest of accumulation. That's what a holder is. Now, there are holders who have converted to trading, and they have then gone into the logic that as being a holder, I can go and trade, and I can also earn and put it into my bag of crypto. There are guys that just want to buy and not pay attention to anything else. In my opinion, a holder in principle shouldn't look at anything else other than the monthly time frame. Any time frame lower than the monthly time frame is irrelevant for a holder who is only in the game for accumulation. Once a month, when he looks at the chart itself, he says, what's Bitcoin up to? Oh, it's moving down. I might pick some up. It's quite cheap now. Okay, I've picked up my Bitcoin. Now it's time to move. Let's continue about our day. So all I'm saying to you guys is this. When you're trying to establish where Bitcoin is likely to go, factor in the idea of where the vector candles reside. Now, tomorrow, we have a very important news announcement. We have the employment change figures. We've got the non-farm employment and the average hourly earnings, and of course the unemployment rate. All happening before the New York live stream. Friday's a bit of a tricky day, guys. Okay? Bitcoin has made its way to that 800 EMA on the 1 hour time frame, which we were speaking about earlier on. A clean test of this would see Bitcoin coming back up. The question on our minds is this: has Bitcoin been set up to move back up on the idea of worsen news on the dollar? Has the dollar index been set up for a worsen move to the downside, or it's been prepped for a move back up? Because when you look at the dominance of the dollar itself, ladies and gentlemen, looks like things are going pretty well for the dollar dominance. It's just a standard drop, retrace, continuation. What if we do get that dominance to come back in again? What if Euro USD has been set up to drop and come back down into the vector candle recovery zones on the higher time frames? As you can see right here. Going to the 4 or 5 hour chart. We've got ourselves the 8, the blue candle, vector candle right here. And we've got some vector candle zones down here. And finally, this little area right here. What if that's a possibility, ladies and gentlemen? The most busiest times in the week, guys, are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. All right? If you haven't made money during the most busiest time of the week, be careful when you come to the charts on Friday. And more importantly, be mindful of the weekend. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, I'll be releasing a video on the vector candle strategy. I just wanted to touch base with you tonight on understanding what is likely to happen to Bitcoin moving forward from this evening. Asia are going to be reacting to this move. We've got a big deviation away from the moving average and a huge imbalance in the chart. Okay? Keep an eye on this zone, ladies and gentlemen. And I'll be checking in with you all tomorrow. Mad love and respect to you guys. Peace.